You're watching The Insights here on TV47, and I'm glad that you're joining us to continue listening into the public intellectuals that we do have in the country to just disseminate their information and knowledge regarding the current state of play of politics in the country. As mentioned earlier, we're holding court with Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who is a former cabinet minister. Also, we do have with us Dr. Barak Muluka, who is a strategic communications advisor, and we do have with us as well Javas Bigambo, who is a governance and policy analyst and vice chair of the NADCO implementation committee. Very interesting cartoon that maybe will act as a segue to our discussion, even as we're looking at the party politics and their whereabouts right now. As you can see it right now, this is the Orange or the ODM UDA outfit. What a juicy outfit it is there, as you can see it, and maybe our panelists can comment on that particular outfit. This is an ODM UDA Orange, and you can see what a juicy outfit. This is what Wajiko is saying there regarding today. Let's just begin with that particular question maybe that is hanging on the rafters of many Kenyans' mind regarding UDA and their today's meeting, and also ODM in Kibra. UDA NEC mandates party leader President Ruto to set up a structured talks with the ODM to negotiate a coalition agreement ahead of a 2027 election. That is what we have as the current news when they held their meeting today. So they have been having the grassroots elections as well. And of course, we can just give our insights on what is happening within ODM. The ODM leader has also read the rioters act to the rebels, saying they should resign if they're not aligning with the party tenets. Let's just begin with you, Kipruto Arap Kirwa. Good morning. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
We used to be having this particular conversations in the mornings.
Yeah, especially Dr. Barak Muluka and I.
Yes.
Once in a while, our young man.
It's a new dawn. So
it's a new dawn. All right.
So it's very interesting. These are very interesting times. And as you know, politics in Kenya is still dynamic in the sense that we are still looking for each other, because we are not at times informed by any philosophical foundation on why I should be in one coalition and not the other. This therefore means that you would expect the current regime to be wary of the fact that they have lost a huge constituency in central Kenya and many other parts of the republic, people who voted for the current regime in the last general election. And therefore the president, in his wisdom, must also look for new allies. And perhaps that's why they have mandated him with specific. I would have expected him to be told to look for new alliances and find similar minds, people of similar minds, for purposes of creating the coalition towards the next general election. But I think UDA, from what you've said, was very specific. Go to ODM and seek possibly a way of trying to replace what he has lost for the last 3 years. It is a useful political thing, and I think is also doing elections in what he considers to be part of his backyard for purposes of ensuring he gets the loyal supporters intact as he goes for new ventures. As to whether he will succeed, time will tell, because I think ODM is rambling and it is likely to be split into 3 or 4 formations. I'm seeing the coast behaving differently. There are those who are seen to be rebels within ODM, the young generation. They are likely to go their way, either to go with the party or go into other formations around the country. And of course, there are those who are seen to be conservatives. They are likely to stick with the party and possibly get either a coalition or some form of arrangement, depending on the conditions, because the Honorable Oburu Odinga has been making statements akin to somebody not so sure of the waves. Even whatever he was calling ultimatum today in Kibra, it was sort of some kind of doublespeak, saying you can go, you can leave us, and saying we are not planning to expel anybody. knowing that some of the players they are dealing with are people who are likely to destroy the party should they decide to move and move at the right time. That's what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Barak, do you see any suspicion on the timing? Because we had earlier also the leader asking for, for the National Delegates Conference to happen, so that he's buckling under the pressure that he was not put in office, democratically. So everyone is really calling for this particular conference. So he says we're calling for it. But before also we go for this particular conference, people should resign within the party. You see the timing here, do you think it's very providential?
I think the timing is fine. Thank you, Debal and viewers, fellow panelists. I think the timing is fine. Without a doubt, the country is in the campaign mode. We have been in that mode for some time already, but the home stretch has begun in earnest, and it is time, therefore, for people to begin groping towards one another, trying to find out who they could work with and sealing deals. What I do not understand, however, between ODM and UDA is why they should be talking about an alliance or a coalition, because coalitions and alliances within the political space are usually defined by divergences of philosophical orientations or ideological orientations or fundamental issues that particular political formations take specific stands on, and which stands are different, remarkably different from what the others have, and therefore they get into the negotiation space where they say if you cede this kind of thinking, if it's about taxation, this is our position, that is their position, this is where we find the intersection. If it's about education, if it's about health, if it's about a wide range of other issues within the landscape of public policy. But these two, when you look at them, you see two sides of the same coin. And the easier thing for them to be doing, in fact, is to be talking about merging. In any case, they were once one and the same. When you look at the individuals within that theater, the differences they have had have been about personality clashes and conflicts. And given that they are seeking an alliance whose main preoccupation is self-preservation and political survival, it is a misnomer to be talking about alliance and coalition formation. What are you coalescing within that coalition? Basically, we have got Raila Odinga's orphans, God rest Odinga in eternal peace. And these orphans are of two definitions. They are the orphans of an ideological nature. Those are the people who are holding on to the ideas that Odinga professed to represent, to espouse. And then there are the parasitic orphans, the ones who hang on his coattails and who are threatened with the possibility of extinction. They need to find a new host upon whom they can cling, into whom they can insert their suckers, and that individual is clearly President William Ruto. And so, in essence, they should be talking about merging and not talking about coalition. What coalition? What are the ideas? What are the philosophies?
Well, I thought maybe the underpinning that is making the coming together of this is taking a notch higher the memorandum of understanding. between UDA and ODM. So that now, when we're talking about a coalition, it is predicated on this, memorandum of understanding.
There's no memorandum of understanding. Let us not engage in games in musical chairs. And one of the custodians is here, is going to tell us what it is about. It's not as if these two have been at a polarity of sorts, where you'd say the UDA in the North Pole and the ODM and the South Pole, and they are talking about corruption, that UDA is saying corruption is a good thing and ODM is saying corruption is a bad thing, or that they are talking about the Gen Zs, let us not kill our youth, and the other one is saying let us kill our youth. There is really nothing that they are talking about as a memorandum of understanding, and we would invite my nephew here, Jarvis, the big gamble, to attempt to persuade us that there is something which they can call a memorandum. So
Jarvis, you're actually the vice chair of a very vacuous, empty, entity called the NADCO Implementing Report, Committee, if at all there is no memorandum as is being espoused here by Dr. Barak Maluka.
Well, Debal, as I appreciate you for the invitation this evening, I think I must commence by telling my very great and celebrated uncle here, Dr. Muluka, that it is important for us, and particularly the intelligentsia in this country, to engage in discourse or discourses with frankness and particularity, and in fact, the empiricism of the facts that are self-evident in our country. I invite all of us to embrace and to look at the particular tools of analysis that inform and in fact can help us appreciate the nature of our politics. Now, Dr. Muluka here has helped you to make some remark that I am a member of an entity, a vice chair of an entity that is vacuous. Questions arise, Debal. Is there a memorandum of understanding between the United Democratic Alliance and the Orange Democratic Movement, signed by the party leader of UDA, President William Ruto, and the former party leader, now dead, Raila Odinga, of ODM? It is there.
Abracadabra.
Was it signed?
Abracadabra.
Yes. Are there issues that were itemized that are crucial, not just for the interest of these two political parties, but issues that are germane to the progress and development of this country, Kenya? Those issues are there. Among them, management of public debt, issues to do with inclusivity in all spheres of life, issues to do with protection of devolution. There's the implementation of the NADCO report, the recommendations that were made after the bipartisan talks that were held, of course, having the team sit in Bomas. These are facts. You see, let me tell you, Debal, the frankness that I am inviting, and in fact I'm chastising the intelligence in this country not to be blind to, is that our politics is informed by far too many things. One, history. The diversity, the cocktail of interests within political parties, within political formations, and the body politic in Kenya. The fact that, and in fact, when you are asking even Mheshimiwa former minister, Mheshimiwa Kipruto, and even my very great uncle, Dr. Muluka here, about the issues of ODM and now UDA, today NEC of UDA has authorized an engagement or the nurturing of discussions for purposes of a coalition between UDA and ODM. It tells you that the agility within the political parties in Kenya, and in fact you appreciate as a matter of fact too, that Kenya has got one of the most vibrant democratic practices across the continent. Debal, it is important for us to help political parties engage in the manners that they can, because it is legal, it's lawful. The law permits pre-election coalitions, the law permits mergers, the law permits post-election formations and coalitions. If at all, as it was communicated to the country and to the members of ODM, that the Kilifi retreat of the neck of ODM permitted it to engage with other parties, including and starting with the UDA, and today the neck of UDA has guided the necessity of engaging in coalition planning and matrix with ODM, it is clear to all of us that the nature, the existence of political parties is beyond fostering democratic practice in Kenya. It is to ensure that, one, they bring together a convergence of interests, they pursue mechanisms of attaining power, and that power, once attained, is for purposes of serving the people of Kenya. Mm-hmm. Towards the 2022 general election, when ANC, now defunct, and where Dr. Muluka here was a Secretary General, and he joined the government and then rushed out immediately. I don't know what scared him in government.
Maybe you'll tell us.
And then UDA formed the Kenya Kwanza coalition, got into power, and with the plan under the President William Ruto, which is now being implemented, we are seeing, for example, and Dr. Muluka here is free to challenge, if at all, that there is the issue of equitable distribution of resources, infrastructure development across the regions in the country. President William Ruto himself is conscious and intent and deliberate on inclusiveness in this country. We are seeing these things.
So this is a general idea of his that the coalition is a sense of inclusivity when we're talking about it. Yeah, but yeah, just hang on, because I want just to come to Kipruto Arap Kirwa, because I wonder with this particular NADCO report that you also are meant to be overseeing its implementation. What are the metrics of measuring how successful this NADCO report is? Because when you're talking about protecting and strengthening devolution, it sounds very, broad. It sounds very general. Are there any specificity that we do have on measuring whether they're making any traction with the protecting and strengthening of devolution, or even inclusivity in all spheres of public life? Yeah. All spheres. Maybe we need to maybe get granular with this issue so that we get to understand, and that it's good that you're here. Yeah. But from your own assessment, do you think there's any fair appraisement of this NADCO report implementation?
No, I think it's useful for us to cast our eyes just above some of these issues that are talked of by the current regime. First of all, government service is not a favor. The government is supposed to serve this country regardless of where they got the votes or where they did not get the votes. While the president has attempted to do that, there is something that I find repugnant with the visits to State House to be told or to beg for certain services to be taken to certain regions where the delegation comes from. Because at the end of the day, the budget that is done by Parliament is supposed to look at this country holistically, including trying to do equalization on areas that had a lot of disadvantages. The second issue is about the NADCO report. Out of the 10 issues, 8 of them are purely administrative, and some of them are provided for in the Constitution. This therefore means you don't have to sign an agreement between one political entity and the other for some of those things to be implemented. Many of them, the issue of inclusivity is provided for in this Constitution. Issues of being equity is provided for in this Constitution. And other administrative issues that the government does not have to be reminded. I find it very hard for my young brother, Jevas, to implement something or to go through the matrix of implementation, if there are any matrix at all, and timelines provided for this particular issue. The third issue that I'm worried about is that government policy is informed by certain laws, regulations, the Constitution, And any government that pronounces itself on certain policy, the onus is for them to make sure that they stick to the policy direction that they gave to the people of Kenya in their manifesto. And therefore, for them to think that it's a favor for me to take a delegation to them for certain roles to be done is totally misplaced, to say the least. Finally, I feel this issue of coalition or whether merger with ODM, there is something that is laced with it, bringing back the tribal animosity that we saw in 2007. Because now we are almost creating two alliances. Perhaps the Western Alliance and the Eastern Alliance, akin to what we saw in 2007. Because the entire Western was in ODM in 2007, except parts of Bungoma and Trans Nzoia. And it seems that is a target they are trying to do it. The entire Rift Valley province, or the Kalenjin Rift Valley, was in ODM in that particular election, and some parts of Coast. It seems the president is trying to bring that alliance and set it against certain communities within the alternative view. Something that I feel is dangerous, and I feel the president should rise above that, because I remember when I was working with him, I asked him that, are you interested in us forming this party? Because initially we were trying to stick with Jubilee, but it became untenable because we realized Jubilee had escaped. So one afternoon, after lunch, I asked him, are you forming this party so that you use it for national integration to outlive you, or are you doing it as a vehicle for the election? And the answer he gave me was, he wants it to go beyond him. And I added to him that you've done something that is so unique. You were able to bring two communities that were at variance with each other in 2007. By 2013, they are working together. Now, and you are likely, because it was clear that the Kikuyu community were going to vote for him, you are likely to do that. For the first time, the Kikuyu community will vote for somebody other than one of their own since independence. The third thing I would want you to do is to make sure that you create a political vehicle that goes beyond your lifetime. He has succeeded in the first two, but he seems to be failing in creating genuine national integration by setting communities against each other. Because listen to these people, even commentators like us, when they come to the studio, they will talk about Kenyatta regime, Kibaki regime, Uhuru regime, and they leave more in between, so that it is that the three regimes, they are set against this regime, just because it is not a Kikuyu at the top of the leadership. I'm saying this as an elder, and genuinely so, because I strongly believe this country deserves better from the leadership that we have. Yeah.
Barak, let's just go navel-gaze now a bit on ODM and the way it is right now. The statement that we saw tripping off also the tongue of the leader. There is the issue of the expendables, so to speak, within ODM, that if you are the rebels, we should show you the door or choose to resign. Do you think that ODM can stand with the ouster of the Secretary General, with the ouster of the youthful faces that we do have there, Babu Wino, and also Godfrey Osotsi right now? If they take this particular move and they show them the door, what will be the blowback of ODM?
I think there's something that the ODM leadership around Dr. Oburu Oginga has come to terms with. There are a number of things they have come to terms with. The first thing they've come to terms with is that Oburu Oginga cannot be Raila Odinga. And not being Raila Odinga, he's not going to be able to rally the ODM constituency as we have known it together. He lacks the charisma, he lacks the moral authority, he lacks the leadership acumen that his younger brother Raila Odinga had. If he had it, in fact, given the way we behave within the Lake Basin in order of things that do with birthrights, he would have been the leader. but he lived throughout in the shadow of his younger brother, Raila Odinga, and so he lacks what it takes. It's also true, I believe, that ODM has come to terms with the fact that within that fraternity, there isn't a single individual who is able to marshal the kind of support across the country that the late Raila Odinga had. And the leadership around Dr. Oburu Oginga is coming to terms with the reality that for purposes of survival and self-preservation politically, the territory called Luo Nyanza must hold together within ODM, fractured, fragmented, broken, whatever may happen about it, they must hold that bit together. And they will do so with a lot of political militancy that includes creating adversaries who may be people who are still on the correct ideological path that the party stood for, that the party represented, but whip up sufficient ethnic sentiment as voiced by individuals like Gladys Wanga, like George Peter Kaluma, like John Mbadi, and many others, because this is our thing. So they're not particularly worried that the Sifunas, the Babu Winos, the Kalebwa Misses, the Egri Orengos and others may disengage. Mm-hmm. What they are concerned about is survival within that little corner and have enough muscle to go out to negotiate with others who are going to help them to fly into the future. In other words, what we are saying is that the present top leadership in ODM, barring the Secretary General and a few others within the so-called rebellious camp, have come to terms with the reality that they can no longer be persuasive on the national platform. You listen to the vibes from the coast on the 7th of this month. Mm-hmm. There are people who are saying, Joho, if they are not making you the leader, we are going away.
And we're forming our own party.
We're forming our own party. You look at Western, or the former Western province, it's completely in disarray. It's up for grabs. You look at the Ma following, it is in a state of confusion. You look at the Gusii countryside, it's in disarray. And therefore, what they are doing is retreating, and you can see that the rallies have begun by going to the enclaves that were seen as the late Mr. Odinga's strongholds. And so the question of whether it survives or it doesn't survive as a coherent entity perhaps does not even arise. It's already broken. Mm-hmm. The fissures and fractures began when Odinga himself was still around. It's possible they knew something that the rest of us did not know. Hence, the beginning of the fissuring and the fracturing way before Mr. Odinga passed on. And so I would agree with my brother Kipruto Kirwa that there are possibly going to be about 3 or even 4
factions within ODM.
Factions and formations within ODM. And even within the faction that may remain in Luo Nyanza, it is possible that we are going to see further fissures. One of the illusions within that camp, and I use the expression illusion deliberately and advisedly, is that 1 or 2 individuals within that space is going to be President William Ruto's running mate in 2027. something that probably arises out of some of the calf of hand remarks that he made, that a woman should be the next deputy president. And you can see some kind of termagants, who are fronting and who are very voluble and who are spoiling for a fight. And you can see a woman who is imagining that she's going to be the next deputy president and that in 2032 she's going to be the president. So those kinds of things are going to even lead to further internal attrition.
Internal attrition of ODM. But we're to see, because I think everyone has been pointing to the fact that why would ODM really be pointing to, you know, that deputy president position? Why can they go for the position itself? This is punching below the weight of ODM, as it were. So we want to take a short break. When we circle back, of course, we shall pick the brains of Java's Bigambo, and to tell us what are the metrics. The question I'd posed before. Yeah? Are we just a wandering generality or a meaningful specific when it comes to the implementation of the NADCO report?